guess we'll open Town of Scituate Board of Health meeting Monday, April 22nd, 2013. I'll take a motion to accept the agenda.
You've got such a motion. And we'll wait till Mr. Daza comes and gets his seat.
There he is. Excellent. We just had a motion to accept the agenda.
Okay, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just to catch you up on a few things. We're starting the spring ration of complaints for various things. I've got two on which homes may be in question. I have several rubbish and debris, and I got a couple of hoarding. And as you know, the hoarding ones will take longer than the rest. So. But there was a case on Manhill Road where the water's running down the street. Everybody got up, nobody looked home. Stuff around the yard, the garage is open and full. There's an in-ground pool in the back with a cover on it, but the fence is down in spots.
Oh, that's dangerous.
The dogs obviously were chained in front, and fire department went there first in case there was somebody inside. Police came, I came, building commission came, and it was okay. Final. I refused to go inside because I had no permission or a warrant, and fire and police were inside just to check to see that nobody was there. We gathered some information via neighbors and people we knew, and finally got a cell phone number of the owner from a relative, and police and I have been verbally in touch with her, and I'll be sending her an order to clean up. The water was turned off to her house because the water line seems to be broken between the street and the house. So she has to fix that. And I guess they've been having trouble getting in there to read the meters, so this, of course, will be something that's ratified, taken care of at the same time. So she says she wants to clean it up, so we'll give her a chance.
Given a chance, meaning in 30 days, 60 days?
Well, you know, I'm gonna...
Progress.
Yeah, progress, continual progress, and I've told her she can't live there as long as there's no water.
Right.
And until and she said that it's not a problem, she can live with some relatives, and I said, okay, fine. So, and I said she can't, you know, until there's no water, and I say that the place is habitable again, so whatever, we'll see what happens. She had two mastiffs and some kind of bird or parrot.
Say
or something.
mastiffs.
They're kind of young, but they're very nice. I mean, they're big, but they were well behaved, and although they looked imposing in the beginning when the fireman opened the door.
Greeting them.
Yeah, they put leashes on them and they were fine. I mean, they much preferred being outside than they did in the house, so. We have the health fair coming up with the Council on Aging at the Scituate Harbor Community Building this Friday, 10 to 3. Every possible table is full, so we hope it's well attended. Next year we may shoot for a bigger area because we turned away 12 people who were willing to attend. And you know, as exhibitors, and we may need a gym next time, and we probably have to hold it on a Saturday. but that may make it more accessible to more people with those hours being on a weekend rather than during the week.
Good. I'll hold you right there unless you
Nope,
want.
nope, I've just filled time.
There you go. We'll stay on time then. For Mary. 7:10 PM, subdivision approval, 305 Country Way. Morse Engineering representing property owner Doug Sharon.
Good evening. Fred Morse, Morse Engineering. This is a flexible open space development located at 305 Country Way, consisting of 3 lots. There's an existing house on the property. Basically, this is the property line plan here. You can see Country Way in the corner of the lot. Property line shown in bold. It all drains to the rear of this lot. This is a wetland line. The wetland line was reviewed and approved by the Conservation Commission through an ANRAD process. So we have the wetland resource to contend with here. We also, this entire site is in the Water Resource Protection District. With respect to that, there's a tributary to the town reservoir. The town reservoir is off the page down here. This tributary runs through the site this way. And off of that, we've measured the 200-foot DEP Zone A line. The relevance of the Zone A line is you're not allowed to build any new septic systems within a Zone A. Originally, when I worked at this site, I thought that the Zone A line, as well as the town's consultant at that point, I might add, thought that the Zone A didn't encroach that much on this property. We had a question about that, so we had DEP come out to the site. DEP did a site walk, and we had, in an email here from the DEP, it says that if nothing's proven out in the field, we go with what is mapped. That's from Bruce Bach, a hydrogeologist with DEP. This is the latest DEP map showing the Zone A, which corresponds with what we're showing on our plan. So we're not changing anything that the DEP has previously mapped. We're respecting their line. So where that puts us with you, we're proposing the 3 lots. As such, we have a roadway coming in, lot 1, 2, and 3. The septic systems, that Zone A line you'll see is this dashed line here. The septic systems are all hugged along this lot line. Here's 1 septic, the 2nd septic, the 3rd septic.
So they're all outside the 200s.
They're all outside the 200-foot Zone A.
And you have perks in those areas?
Yep, I provided to you a copy of a test pit location plan. I got rid of some of the grading on it, but I left the lot lines, the houses, and the septic locations. All of the test pits in red were witnessed by the Board of Health. We have 4 test pits in each septic on each lot. 3 perk tests and 4 deep holes on each lot. We haven't been in front of the planning board yet. We're scheduled to go in front of this Thursday.
Which is why we're doing it tonight.
When this, when this gets developed, we'll submit individual septic plans for each of the individual lots.
These are the 3 here, 1, 2, 3. You all right with that one, Jennifer? I think there's, I see them all on the lot, but there's only 2 in the septic. Will you verify that?
Well, right now, that's all it needs. I mean, when the septic plan comes in, you'll have to be in full compliance, and that's how you should vote it, that any buildings built have to be in compliance with Title V. Unless they're sewered.
No sewer out here. So the setbacks that we'll have to comply with again, 200 feet from the tributary, and then from that wetland line conservation established, because that's a wetland that is bordering a tributary, there's a 100-foot setback from the wetlands.
The tributary, did you go out and locate the tributary?
we located a portion of the tributary out here.
Yeah,
We had DEP come out and do a site walk. We were trying to, I'd say, move the location of it. DEP came out and did not agree with the methodology to move it. And so they, in their email, say to go with the mapped location. And so we're running with the mapped location.
I don't know, I don't wanna get into conservation issue, but I was just curious about the
Yeah.
tributary. In the distance,
Yeah.
that's all, I don't wanna get
Well,
into
there's a-
And- and
back and
so-
forth.
There's some there's been a slight change in the tributary definition.
Yeah,
That, originally, a tributary was always full running, and then it became, and there was a difference between that and an intermittent stream, and then they sort of, if it was in the right spot, it didn't matter if it was partial or full-time, it was still a tributary. So.
that would mean there's a ditch or a swale that's actually
So.
carries water.
Yeah.
The
so-
definition is a definite
Hold
channel.
on 1 minute, sir.
To quote it, it's definite channel in the ground.
Definite channel in the ground.
Yeah.
So this would be the location of the channel in the ground?
Correct.
And do you locate in the middle, so if it's 4 feet wide, you divide it by 2
We
and
lo-
take
we
a
located-
center line shot?
We located the bank of it,
The closest bank to the
closest
project?
bank,
Okay,
correct.
top of bank,
top of bank.
okay. All right, and that matched up with DEP, but they had a couple little issues in spots?
Well, we had the bank beginning here
Yeah,
and running down, and so we wanted to say that the start of the tributary was at this location. And because all through this area, we did not consider to be a definite channel in the ground. It was.
so that's where the discussion was?
Right,
Okay.
so we looked at that location, and they determined that there's basically a pipe at the intersection of
Countryway.
Countryway and Williamsburg Lane that discharges from a catch basin.
Into a swamp?
Yeah, and that's what they're considering the
the
start
source.
of that tributary, so
Yeah.
the 200 feet is measured off of that.
And all the
Interesting.
systems will have the setbacks on each lot.
Correct.
Question?
I don't have any other questions. Do you guys have any questions?
presently, no.
Not presently? Not presently? Sir, could you please state your name and
Yes,
address for the record?
My name is Lance Van Lensen, 150 Old Oaken Bucket Road.
Mhm.
I used to be chairman of the Water Study Committee. I worked with the planning board when the town adopted the definition of tributary that's the same as the state definition. Excuse me. I was also involved with a project that worked with DEP. We were funded by the DEP, a bunch of residents, and we investigated tributaries as part of the first Herring Brook Watershed Initiative that was done back in 2000.
Mhm.
Anyway, I was at the site visit, and I think there's a little confusion over what mapping data should be used. GIS data is reference data when it comes to water resources, just
Mhm.
like wetlands. You have to have somebody go out there and field locate, the edge of a wetland, the bank of a tributary. So Bruce Bell from DEP, the hydrogeologist, came out at the request of Mr. Morse and the Conservation Commission, and he reviewed the tributary. And he definitely confirmed that it is a tributary. And what he meant by leave it as map was that there is a zone A there is a tributary there, but he also, and his department will verify this, he'll support the fact that you have to field locate the tributary. You don't just take a line from the GIS map and drop it on a plan.
Right.
I mean, if we did that for wetlands, we wouldn't need botanists, So I think it would be a really good idea to talk to Mr. Bow, because he's a hydrogeologist, and, just verify it, because in my opinion, because I was at the field review, and that line that says DS1 through DS8 is part of the real tributary, and 200 feet should extend from that point, so that the septic system shown in lot 3 on page 4 of the plan, you know, flexible open space design that's within the Zone A. So you should really talk to Mr. Balk. If you'd like his phone number, I dropped off a letter, Mr. Purcell co-signed it, that has Mr. Balk's phone number. And he does this kind of work all the time, because it gets confusing, you know, tributaries, Zone As, and so I'm sure, you know, things can be redesigned and everything could be fine, but I think it'd be great to get the actual opinion of the hydrogeologist. It'd be great.
Okay, so,
Are you in a butter?
Yes.
And are you in a butter?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Can I see the email?
so I guess your concern is that the two lines, one could be substantially different.
Well, I think you go by the surveyed line.
Yeah.
And the line that was surveyed by Mr. Morris, shown as DES1 through DS8, is actually part of the tributary as it exists in the field. And that's, from that point, from that line is where you broadcast setbacks, including the 200-foot setback as described in Title V.
Yeah. So, in looking at that, if you look at this location here versus the map DEP line, the field located one, lot 1, we're outside the 200, we're 230 feet away with the septic. Lot 2, we're outside, we're 250 feet from the location. Lot 3, we're approximately 180, so we'd have to move it 20 feet or change the configuration on lot 3. And we have the perk test data to support that, you know, at the time of design for that individual septic, so.
Yeah, it isn't gonna change it. If you vote it to be in
Yeah.
compliance with Title V, it still has to meet those setbacks.
So it become a Title V,
So if he rotates the configuration he has,
right,
he could probably still meet it. And this, just because this is schematically shown, this isn't an approved septic system.
Right.
And it
Right.
won't be until he officially does that, and then he'll have to show he meets the distance system, or he doesn't get approved.
now that issue with the line, would that more fall into the Conservation Commission at some point?
Well, I mean, it's gonna get discussed again at planning board, and it'll get
Yeah.
discussed again at conservation when the septic system plans go through.
Okay, so you've got some work at other boards, so
Oh, yeah.
it's just a matter of us saying that perk test passed and it could support Title V systems.
Yeah,
So, yeah, and then this, I guess this was my question, right? Tonight, we're not passing any judgment on any of these lines at all.
no.
right?
Correct. You're just basically making a statement to the planning board that we've conducted soil testing on each of the lots. We've got perk results that range from 3 minutes an inch, 8, 12, 7, I think 22 minutes an inch was our slowest perk test, so from 22 to 3. So we have adequate soil out here.
And that's
to
on lot
support
2,
systems.
which is outside the boundary, clearly, no
Correct.
matter which boundary you use.
Correct. So that's the statement we're looking, I guess, for you to
Right.
make to planning board.
So, but in the future, you envision then that there's gonna be some field confirmation of what's going on out here?
Yeah, we'll get another, when we met with Bruce over the winter, nothing was flowing at that point in time. He wanted to revisit the site, and, you know, it's our intention to get him out here again, hopefully
Hold
later
on a
this
second,
month. But even then, using the most up gradient line, there's still adequate room to comply with the 200-foot setback from that.
Because that is a surveyed
Correct.
line
That's a
there.
survey point.
Okay, so those lines have to be judged somewhere else, okay.
Correct.
Sir, you had another thing to say?
Yeah, I just want to say that we dropped off a video of the stream
Yeah,
after a storm event, 1.5 inch rain, and you can see a lot of flow.
yeah, I don't think anybody's disputing
Yeah.
it, that it's
So,
there, he's
I'm
not.
saying if you're curious, there's a
Yeah.
YouTube clip of it. And, you know, we just want to see the tributary protected. And this is, you know, the process of reviewing a tributary is relatively simple, and the DEP when somebody questions, somebody from the DEP like Bruce will come out, as he did in this case. So in the end, I think everything's gonna work out great, but I recommend communicating with Mr. Bow, you know, it'll only take a minute, you know. And his phone number's on the letter that we dropped him off.
At this point.
Yeah, yeah, all right, well, thank you for the letter, and, yeah, I think at this point, it's just procedural.
Okay, so we're,
Oh, well, let me, is there any other comments or questions from the audience? None, all right, thank you, and, all right, I'll leave it.
we're, just state for me again exactly what it is that we're approving tonight.
Subdivision.
Pardon me?
Subdivision.
The plan and the proposed, and that we approve the,
Subdivision has had sufficient soil testing
That's right, yeah.
for 3 lots.
based on the testing results that we got.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that any buildings will have to
Right, okay.
have systems
That's right,
that
okay, I
meet
got
state
it.
and local Title V.
So I move to approve the plan submitted here entitled Test Pit Location Plan, Fred's Way Definitive Open Space Development Plan for Scituate, Mass., prepared by Morse Engineering, dated March 4th, 2013. And there's another plan that shows the pits, right?
This is the test pit location plan you just.
Oh, that's.
And that's a
okay.
that's the flexible open space.
Yeah. As shown in that plan and the flexible open space plan of, I assume, the same date, right? Where's the date on that?
This one is.
I'm sorry, that's why I assumed incorrectly. That's why you should never assume. Dated February 19th, 2013. All of this with the understanding that the applicant will need to come back to the Board of Health to demonstrate that any proposed systems are fully in compliance with Title V.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Question, yeah.
So you've approved the plan showing the septic system and maybe.
No.
No, just test pit locations.
It seems like you approved the plan.
No, it's subject to complying.
There's a test,
okay.
Yeah.
there's a test pit plan that shows where the test pits are. That was the plan that was approved, not a septic system plan.
So you didn't approve the flexible open space plan?
Yes, we did, because we have, it supports, we have to prove that you have soils, adequate soils on each lot, and we have that with the test pits. It doesn't say it's in compliance with Title V at this point. It will when the separate plans come in.
So he may have to go out and do more perk tests and
More
define that
surveying.
line, more surveying. Yeah.
All right, because it looks like you just approved the septic system.
No,
Maybe
no.
within-
no,
Yeah, I thought I was pretty
We
clear.
didn't
yeah,
approve
Okay.
any
Fair enough.
septic
Thank you.
systems.
very welcome. All right, we're all set?
Yep.
7:20 PM, discussion sodium fluoride in the town water supply. Cheryl L. Gravening Fitzgerald of 84 Booth Hill Road.
Come on up.
Want me to sit there?
Good. Yeah, that's a good spot.
Wherever
I've
you,
got a lot.
wherever you're comfortable.
I'm a little nervous.
Don't be nervous.
We don't bite.
Watch.
She might, but we don't. Just kidding. Just
Well,
kidding.
most of us.
What's the saying, you don't argue with somebody who buys ink by the barrel? Who said that, Ben Franklin or somebody?
Wow.
Okay, now, the board, we had big problems with the town copy machine, so the board is just getting the copies of most everything tonight.
Okay.
So if you just want to get a brief overview, and then,
That's
you know, we'll probably have some more maybe some other people in, and then some more discussion at a later date.
Okay, what I
Go
thought I
for it.
would do is just kind of, again, I talked to Jennifer a couple of times, and again, just to kind of get things going, and just a discussion.
I appreciate that, because as
But-
Jennifer said, as a discussion starts, it turns kind of into a debate, and then we'll look
I'm
at
not
it from
gonna
all
debate.
sides.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna debate.
Yeah, no, it's all good, it's all good, yeah.
But I
That's the
kind of
beauty
got
of
it.
being able to have a board to come and talk to and
Yes.
bring things forward.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I did make a little outline for myself to kind of follow it, and I thought, well, maybe I should give you guys copies.
That'd be great.
If you wanted,
Yeah,
I guess.
every little bit helps.
Oh,
Thank you.
Sorry, Joe.
That's okay. You know, they're more liable to stay awake through these 2 pages than the other 45.
Well, see, that's what I thought, is again, you gotta start somewhere, so
Yeah.
we're starting. And I wasn't sure if, everybody was aware of I had written the letter.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, and you read it. Okay,
Yeah.
so
And we sent it back, a letter to you.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, this was
So,
last year, wasn't
all right,
it?
so we're
Yeah.
aware of the letter.
Yes.
Okay. And because it was based on a 1954 vote, Article 56, et cetera, and there wasn't a lot of research that was available at that time. I
You
thought
said
that-
54, right?
1954.
Yeah, I like it when stuff happened before I was born.
I am too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's depressing when I was
I
alive.
can't do anything about these. Okay. So, again, there's been a lot of research that has come to light more and more that is showing a link between water fluoridation and many diseases, again, readily available, and independent research is in the internet. I don't know if this matters, but what piqued my interest was I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we were fluoridated. And it was just accepted. And I had read an article in the newspaper last summer that they had stopped. And I thought, well, what the heck? So that got the ball rolling, and all of a sudden I opened a can of worms and found out just how it's not a nice product. Okay, so just to kind of give you a little starting point for me, I was all for it because I thought that it was, doctors and dentists and my parents and everything, we all grew up on it. Okay. So now they're finding, research indicates that there's a link between fluorides, and fluorides is a very big category I'm finding out in chemistry, with genetic anomalies and DNA interruptions that have been applied to plant and animal studies, specifically tomatoes, rats, pigs, and even fruit flies. What I didn't put in there, though, was that the main ingredient, sodium fluoride, or fluorides, are the main ingredient in rat poison, sarin nerve gas, and Prozac. And it's probably in there somewhere in your,
Yes, I read.
okay, which is kind of scary. Okay, so a little bit of history behind fluorides, and Jennifer, did you give them all a copy of that chronological history
Yes,
that I
the top one. I got through that.
It's a big, thick one.
This one here, yeah.
Yes. Okay, which
That
actually
was
sits
interesting.
on
I won't say
there.
I read the whole thing. but I
Okay,
did.
which is, well, it's very in-depth, but, and it also cites research after research, and, okay. So the history behind the fluorides is how it was introduced in the water supplies, basically, in a nutshell, was that it was the result of, first of all, fertilizer manufacturing. And they were finding that, and I believe the first case, and it'll show you in that chronological summary there, that it was Europe, someplace in Europe, where they were finding that the manufacturing process was dumping the waste into the most readily available water source, which was a nearby stream. And they found that the plants were dying, trees were dying, animals that were grazing in the area were crippled or dying, and had found that it was all due to the discharge of the manufacturing process of the fertilizer. So that's how that kind of started, and they started research on that. It's also a main contributor is the aluminum manufacturing industry, and also the atomic age during World War II. And it still continues today. It's considered, as I put in here, it's very expensive to dispose of, as the EPA classifies fluorides as toxic waste. What happened was, again, it kind of goes back, and it will tell you in their history, was that German scientists had found that if they had submersed patients in fluoride baths for hypothyroidism, an overactive thyroid, that they could reduce incidences of an overactive thyroid by, again, immersing them in a sodium fluoride bath. What it does is it blocks thyroid function. Okay, so that being said, that was a main consideration, because there are a lot of information that I have uncovered is definitely related to the endocrine, correct me, Harold?
Endocrine, yeah.
The endocrine system, the hormonal balance. Okay. Surrounding communities with fluoride, I actually had given Jennifer a list.
It's in the new material you've got.
Okay, in the material that you've gotten. Most of the countries that fluoridate the most are the US, Canada, and Australia. But there has been actually a reverse that you'll see in some of the information there, and that I believe it's just from 2010 forward, showing the townships, or however the municipals are voting, you know, that they're in charge of their water supply. There more and more people are pulling out of water fluoridation, because they're finding that it actually, over long-term use, is contributing to health, human health. It's becoming a detriment. For our area, I actually have right here, I do have a couple of copies, and I think it might be included in there. But these are currently, this is as of 2011, which isn't actually up-to-date, but it will show you towns that are currently fluoridating in Massachusetts, and they're listing 140, give or take. That one's mine, but I will. May or may not be in there, but if you want to kind of look it over. As an example, our neighboring towns, Marshfield does not fluoridate, Norwell does not fluoridate, Hanover does not fluoridate, but Hanover's got contamination problems due to munitions manufacturing during World War II. But Hingham does, Cohasset does, Hull, Duxbury. Duxbury is currently, I don't know the status. I meant to call the woman that was heading up an anti-fluoridation campaign there. But they were trying, as I understood it.
And how are you familiar with her?
I saw an article in the newspaper. Actually, I just happen to have it right here, where I kind of thought I was by myself, you know, and so I was kind of, you know, wringing my hands. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Because the more information I found, the more, I mean, I just really felt like I was, you know, all of a sudden I was getting weighed down and weighed down. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I saw this article in the newspaper in February about fluoride in Duxbury. And so I contacted the woman who was listed in here, and they've actually got a website that's very informative. And I couldn't find out before I got here tonight whether or not they chose to continue their fluoridation, or if they were halting it temporarily for more information to bring it for a town vote. I got kind of mixed information. It looked like the selectmen were supporting no more fluoridation, and it looked like their Board of Health was also supporting that. But again, again, this is, just sort of to
It
open
may
up
be,
the dialogue.
it may be they haven't had their town meeting yet,
That could be.
so maybe, it's just waiting for that, for some kind of action or something.
Okay, so anyway, moving on. That's Duxbury's, but I kind of use that because, like I said, they've got a good website going that's got a lot of good information on it, and I don't know how to do a web page, so. Oh, here, Duxbury's probably in here anyway. Okay, so, again, going with the surrounding communities, with and without fluoridation, I mean, I don't have statistics, but I'd be more than happy to get them for everyone. If they would like to know, like, the evidence of dental cavities or dental health for towns that fluoridate and towns that don't fluoridate. I'm sure that, because I know Scituate has, correct me if I'm wrong, I know that they did, because I went through a lot of old town reports where there was actually, they had a dentist that was in charge of the health board then that would give like an annual, we probably don't do that anymore, okay, but they would give annual reports
I don't
on
even know
the
how
health
many
of the
dentists.
children and that kind of stuff, I guess, whatever. But certainly I would be more than happy. Also,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
We have presented this, we were just reading and listening.
Mhm. That's fine.
Multitasking. It looked like Duxbury was going to do a non-binding vote on March 9th at the town meeting. Do you know?
Well, that's.
Just
again-
curiosity, it really
again,
wouldn't have any bearing,
I
but.
was, see, the one that I was able to find,
Mhm.
and I didn't call her because she works full-time and she's got little kids.
Mhm.
And we just got off April vacation, and I just,
Ruth, are you
But I
able,
can
are you
find
checking
that.
into it? Oh, no, you're doing something else. I thought you might be.
I'm
looking.
actually tweeting what you guys are kind of talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
um,
It's Patrick Ronan, too, wrote the article, so sometimes he's here in town, so.
He's actually at Marshville town meeting right now.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. We would have had him right here.
okay, I do not know, but I can
Just
certainly,
curious.
I can certainly find that out,
Yeah.
and again, like I said,
Well done
I
with
did
that.
try, but
Thank
the
you.
best information that I had said that selectmen support move to end fluoride in town water. This was an article dated January 16th, 2013, and I thought I had that they also, their Board of Health did too, but, okay. And again, like I said, I would be more than happy to help it out, but again,
Yeah, it's
just trying to open a dialogue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I was just curious. It was
Okay.
an interesting article.
But Scituate has the jurisdiction and authority to maintain control of its own water resources and is not subject to any other government entity or for any kind of water treatment, specifically, like the state of Massachusetts only sets the guidelines. We vote for what we want to add to our water and what we don't. And we can certainly, again, go with, Massachusetts state guidelines and the federal guidelines. Now, also, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that American Water Works Association has something to do with our town water, whether or not they supply
Standards.
just the
They
standards.
said
Do they?
standards.
Okay, but do they sell us the sodium fluoride? I didn't really understand the connection. I just saw that it was something that.
They're based out of Hingham, huh? That sounds
No.
familiar.
Aquarian,
Yeah.
Aquarian is what, is a company that provides, I guess, water treatment
Mhm.
to the Hingham Hall, Cohasset.
Yeah, they run the system.
Right, but because I had run across that we were having a drinking water week, and it looked like American Water Works Association somehow was intertwined in this. So anyway, so I just pulled up what their statement was as far as fluoridation of public water supplies, which basically reiterated what I just said, that, well, they support it, but they supply it. They support the application of fluoride in a responsible, effective, and reliable manner that includes monitoring and control of fluoride levels mandated by provincial, state, and/or federal laws that is subject to community acceptance through applicable local decision-making processes. Again, like I said, I think it's a unique situation that we have our own water supply and we can control it versus like towns like Boston or, like I said, you know, a tri-town area. Oh shoot, where did I do that? Here it is. A big thing that I ran into too was water pipe corrosion, which I found very interesting. Which, and if you'll bear with me just for a minute here, I do have a couple of articles. And if you'll allow me just to read this, corrosion as far as fluoride is concerned, it says it's one of the most highly reactive elements known. It is so corrosive that it will eat through metal, glass, and ceramic. Fluoridation lowers pH and accelerates corrosion because the water becomes a more conductive electrolyte. Lead is the high corrosive nature of fluorides causes lead to leach from water, from pipes and solder, and increasing lead contamination in drinking water. Now, my children are all grown. My youngest is 21. They all live at home. But I can remember, and they all grew up in Scituate, going to getting their annual physicals, et cetera, and having that blood test. And I can remember that several times they had elevated blood levels. Now it makes sense. They're also.
Where was the lead coming from?
I'm sorry?
Where was it coming from? You
The-
would need a lead
Well,
pipe.
I think, no, because of the fluoride and the interaction with the pipe itself, the water pipe itself.
The sweating of where the
deliveries,
joint is.
It's very
about the
corrosive
cast
and it
iron, you're talking about the
interacts
I think
with
that's
the
what
metal.
she's-
Yeah, but it's the metal's gotta be made out of lead.
If there's lead in it.
If there's lead, in it,
Right.
that was my question. Where's
Right.
the lead coming from?
I don't know.
The solder.
The solder, from pipes and solder
Well,
increasing
I
lead
mean,
contamination. It may or
I
may
mean-
not.
It may or may not, that's
It
right.
may or
I
may
understand.
not. I'm just,
Yeah,
again,
it's a-
I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but say that certain towns with high lead levels in children, it's also prevalent coming from lead paint. in
Lead
ha-
paint.
In houses, especially.
You can.
So, I mean, there are other sources for lead.
Yes. Again, just a couple of articles as far as, because I know we're in the middle of replacing all the, or some of the
Water pipes.
water pipes throughout the town. But in 1975, there was corrosion control engineer explains fluoride action. And what they had found was in Seattle, they sent a sample of a broken rusted pipe and a container of sludge from a Seattle apartment house to the Food, Chemical, and Research Laboratories, Inc. for analysis. The sample of the pipe showed 1,044 parts per million and the sludge of 475 parts per million of fluoride. So it was accumulating inside the water pipe. One of people were interested in they were asking for a reason for the high fluoride content of the pipe sludge. And again, because of the activity of the fluoride ion, which incidentally is is the most active molecule ion. I'm still getting the lingo. In the elemental table, it's very sticky, and it will stick to all metals. It's
The
a
fluoride
binding
does.
agent. Actually,
Yeah.
you know what? To make it easier, and this is the way that I understood it, they came up with it occurs naturally as fluorspar. Different sorts of minerals, but the one that I connected with was the fluorspar. And what they found was that if they added that fluorspar to ore that they were trying to mine or separate from the rock
Mhm.
for aluminum or whatever metal they were trying to manufacture, that it cut the process in half because it quickly bonded to these ores and so that it was easier to extract them from the rock. So it was kind of like a shortcut, if you will, into manufacturing, which, it cut down on the heat needed to melt the rocks. And again, I have this all, it's all documented, et cetera. So it was a shortcut that would save on time and energy because it was a high heat that was needed to melt the ore. So that's how it got introduced into manufacturing. Okay. Okay, on to the water pipes. Okay, so basically here, in general, fluoride has a great affinity for iron oxide. It often softens previously hard pipe scale or iron oxide in steel pipes and tanks. Fluoride increases the electrical conductivity of water. Electrogenic or corrosive action takes place in the presence of fluoridated water. They found that excessive corrosion can often be reduced by adding various chemicals to a water supply that has been fluoridated. But of course, this adds to the cost of the maintenance and operation of a water system and makes the water less pure. And in just this one article here and this one information that they found out, was the author here said I can honestly say that trouble due to pipe and tank corrosion greatly increases within 1 year after fluoridation is introduced. Again, a small town called Pulaski in New York removed fluoride from its water supply because of pipe corrosion. Again, an article there. In Ireland, if fluoride hastens water pipe corrosion, what is it doing to our children's health? Again, it's very small print, so I'm having a little bit. But again, they did find again that there was a link between fluoride use and water pipe corrosion. There was a Pinellas County in Florida decided to stop fluoridating because it was too expensive. They voted to stop adding, October 2011, voted to stop adding fluoride to its public water supply after starting the program 7 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think expense would be any argument here,
Motivated by tight budgets and skepticism about its benefits. And there's an ethical issue. I wasn't going to touch on that. I didn't have it in here, but there's a medical ethical issue because it's something that is, again, it's in my letter that I wrote in August about how it's classified and how it's only available by prescription through a healthcare professional, yet we're dumping it into our water. Which is, and again, in the statement in this article, I'm in opposition to putting a medical treatment into public drinking water supply without a vote of the people who drink that water. And again, they were looking to save, by alleviating the water fluoridation program, they were looking to save about $205,000 annually. Okay, I think that was it on water pipe corrosion that I had again. Kind of out of order here, but the next thing I had on here that I would be very much interested in helping the board or water committee or however you feel that this needs to be handled, to sharing much more detailed information to present to the town of Scituate in any capacity for a more informed decision. And again, there are lots of books. I have printed out lots of books on fluoride. If you would like to look at just a sort of a sampling of some books, and there's one on the other side. Books about, mostly people use sodium fluoride for the fluoridating of the water, but I haven't bought any. Better use of the money spent elsewhere. The only way to get rid of, if maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself, I was gonna say, and documentary, there's a couple of documentaries about fluoride that are usually available on the internet, and there's a really good website that's called fluoridealert.org, fluoridealert.org, that keeps a running total of towns that are, towns, cities, countries, counties, that are doing away with water fluoridation. And they offer a lot of research, a lot of links to other websites. And I believe that their main contributor is, I want to say his name is Dr. Paul Connett. I'm sure I have something in here anyway. But I guess he's their main spokesperson. And for whatever that is worth, but again, it's another resource. Okay, and as a resident and parent, and I feel that the information should be shared. And I did share this also with Jennifer about my own personal feeling on it, is if the information that I knew, I felt guilty about not sharing with other parents and residents of the town. And I talked to her about this again during last week, and I agreed that definitely, let's first talk to the board.
Mhm.
Let's see how we can approach this, and something that is proactive,
Mhm.
something that's with open communication and cooperation, because I just want to help.
Mm.
That's all I want to do, is I just want to help. I want us to be healthy, happy people. Let's see. Okay, again, I said that we are in a unique situation about having our own water supply so we can control it. And then lastly, I'd just like to share with you is on a personal level, and since doing research on this, is I no longer drink the tap water. Because fluoride is so prevalent in everything. It's in insecticides, pesticides, fertilizers, and we're spreading it all over the place. So if I can cut down on, again, my own personal is I will buy organic, because organic doesn't have those added. Well, a lot of people are pro or against organic. But the main thing to be aware of is any kind of extreme changes in temperatures, such as cooking with it, or freezing for ice cubes, it becomes more active and more toxic, more concentrated. So even my dog drinks bottled water because she's a tiny dog, and they're actually, I have information here about Kentucky. Kentucky is the most fluoridated state in the U.S. They are also the #1 state for cancer rates, and they're having problems with their horses.
Mm.
We all are familiar with Kentucky being a big horse breeding state, but horses drink a lot more water than humans do, and they're finding that the horses are actually having like these, what do they call them? Very strange breaks, like they'll be running and their legs will break.
From brittle bones.
Brittle bones, brittle bones.
Yeah.
And again, I could go on a list of some of the things that they have found as far as, oh, pardon me, I thought I was so organized.
It's okay, it's all right. When Cheryl first brought this up, I did some of my own research, and I found out that the EPA is considering looking at the fluoride standards again because of the results of some new studies.
Just lowering the
But-
And the range, as I understand it right now, that is recommended in Massachusetts is 0.6 to, I think it's 1.2. And Situate's averaging up near, I think, 1.1. So there's still room to decrease the amount. And a colleague of mine who has since retired, but I remember, I think it was back in 2000, he was the director in Wilmington, and Wilmington considered this. And he was shocked by the information that he came up with for his board on this. And they all, in the beginning, intended to be pro-fluoride, and by the end of looking at all their information, there's no way they could recommend it anymore. He said it's really nasty stuff. And I've always remembered that. Because being in Braintree, fluoride has always been an issue. Braintree was totally against it. So it's
It's a debatable issue.
It's, you know, sometimes a little of a bad thing can be a good thing, and sometimes something we think is good turns out to be bad. And it's the more research that we do and the different way things are produced, you know, we're finding out we should, you know, be aware of things and re-examine them and see if we're still in favor of the original position we had on them. So
I agree. Yeah.
I
So the
think-
EPA
I think that-
is it an ongoing study now, or are they just
Well-
talking about studying it?
Well, it's funny because I actually know the person's up for nomination as the head of the EPA, but I'm sure I'm way too low on the totem pole to probably ever get to her on this issue. But
What do you mean?
but it wouldn't stop me from trying. So.
Never say never.
Yeah, really. So, you know, and I wouldn't, it wouldn't bother me to go through channels either through the EPA to find out where they're on it. But the last thing I saw was that, and I think I gave you copies of it, possibly way back when. I think it was in January, either January 2012 or January 2011, where the EPA is saying, is admitting they're gonna look at it again because the latest studies have piqued their interest of it not being such a great idea. So, you know. And the other thing is the water, our water source is no longer the only source if someone needs fluoride.
Well, that's what this dentist is saying right here, is that
You can get fluoride, you have fluoride in your toothpaste, your mouthwash, you can get for newborn babies, you can get fluoride vitamins, things like that. So there are alternative
Supplements.
sources where you can know the exact amount of what you're getting, as opposed to necessarily whatever it is in the water you're drinking, however much you're drinking.
I think there's an age too. I read somewhere in information that was that the age for the fluoride, that it's beneficial, only goes till you're, I'm just gonna throw out 18 or something, and
It's
after.
actually,
Probably younger than that.
information that I've seen here, it's while the tooth is forming, but they, again, in the information that I've uncovered, it is, some of the information or the research that they are publishing is flawed.
Mhm.
They're not quite sure because it depends upon each individual. But I believe that in the information I uncovered, it was like 9. But, what did I want to say? Oh, as far as adding it to the water, something I forgot, was that we normally, for the chemicals that we put into the water, it's to treat the water. Chlorine or anything that's the antimicrobial, antibacterial, okay? I'm not really quite sure.
That's fine.
But the fluoride is added for health purposes. That's how we voted it in, for a dental, on a sponsorship for dental caries, which is a health issue. So it has nothing to do with the water itself, it's a health issue.
It's like putting medicine in the water.
Exactly. And it is, and it becomes,
Is that something we want to do anymore?
Well,
Well, that's
again,
it,
it
is the
was
health
kind of
benefit
like.
outweigh the
I think-
non-health benefit?
I think it's important
Hmm.
for people who drink fluoridated water, as an example, in our town, to know what it does. Because I'm coming from, my husband's family is from Scituate, and my in-laws have since passed away. But the big number one is cancer, heart attacks, or cardiovascular diseases, because it has a tendency to create plaque buildup in the arteries. My in-laws, my father-in-law died of bladder cancer, my mother-in-law had breast cancer, uterine cancer, and I believe what she finally succumbed to was bone cancer. It attacks the bones in the teeth first. It will stay in the bones and will make them brittle or lose. It's like, have we ever seen those articles about Coca-Cola? And how if you put like a chicken bone, or what do they have, or something in a
I know
can-
rusty bolts and it'll supposedly loosen up the rust.
Exactly. And do you know what a main ingredient is in that? Fluoride.
Fluoride. Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? But.
No wonder that stuff works.
But I think it's important because I also have information that tells us how to detox from fluorides in a natural way without pharmaceuticals. It just has to do with eating, like, as an example, raw sunflower seeds, dried figs, coconut water. Anything that's coconut is actually, coconut itself is actually very good for dental caries. Coconut oil. Boost your brain power too. But there's a lot of like natural things that people can do, especially if they are concerned about it. Some people won't be concerned. Some people will be concerned. If they have, people in their household that might have a chronic illness, I, for myself, take thyroid medication. My whole family in Albuquerque, they stopped, but there's still that residual. Until you can detox it from your body, you are subject to it. My whole family takes thyroid medication. I've got 2 sisters and a brother, a mother and a father. My dad, as an example, both hips replaced, and he's got a titanium rod up his back, and his teeth are rotten. Now, he took good care of his teeth and was very active, but again, it affects everybody differently, and we all grew up on that fluoridated water.
So you brought some great information,
Okay.
and I mean, that's worth looking into, and I don't know if there's any more, but I know from my side, sitting here, I'd like to invite, maybe a dentist in to talk, whether it's in 2 weeks or in a month, but I'd rather,
I agree.
we have some other stuff that's on with with another thing in town, so I just gotta make sure our schedule is clear with that.
That's fine.
So, but it definitely a concern, and I can't thank you enough for your patience, because I think you were in about July or August.
Well, I
wanna
wrote
say.
the letter in August,
Yeah.
and I was naive. I was waiting for a phone call instead of, and then I got busy I was doing something else, and now that I've
I think
kind of-
Jennifer might have been doing something else.
But, and I also knew, I also knew that the town was very preoccupied with wind turbines.
Well, that's kind of, without saying it, that's what it was.
Then a
and-
couple of storms.
A
A
couple
couple of storms.
Yeah, we missed some
and again,
meetings
And I
and-
had a few
yeah.
projects that I needed to take care of.
And where this has been in the water since 1954, not to say that's right or wrong, but
Well,
people haven't been,
I don't think that people
Yeah.
were aware of it. It just became an accepted, like I said. I thought
Absolutely.
it was fine.
so I think anyways, I'd like to pass some of this information along, see if we can have someone, not so to say from the other side, but a dentist to say, why is it good as opposed to bad?
Kevin Cafferty, would he sort of be the guy in town on, who?
I have actually.
And somebody from the water department, I
Well,
think
yeah,
that's what you're getting at.
That's what I'm driving at.
Well, the water department just treats it as to what they've been told to treat it to.
Right.
And everybody that's been there has been there, has always been it's been fluoridated since any of those guys have joined the water.
It's always
department.
something they, however
So
they
it's,
add it
it's
in.
something they've always done.
Right.
And are the
and-
fluoridation levels, either if you fluoridate or don't, it's the same level of fluoridation? Or does that vary?
No, there's a guideline from the state of being 0.6 to 1.1.
But that's a
And,
pretty big
and,
guideline, I
and
mean,
in
that's
the,
what I'm
and,
saying.
and in the annual water report we all get, the average is 1.1, I think. But I talked to Jim
So we're at a
DeBarra.
higher level then.
Yeah, we're at the higher end of the spectrum. But I talked to Jim DeBarris, I said, you know, if the Board of Health asked you to turn it down to, say, 0.6, would you have any problem doing that? He says, no, it could be done.
Well, it wouldn't be us, it would be the town, it would be a town meeting, it would be a town vote.
Well, I think that it could be either way, actually, because the town, as I understand the town voted, it awarded.
The town voted, that's, then
But
again,
they
like I
wanted
said.
it.
You gotta let Troy finish. As I understand the town vote, they ordered fluoridation, but they didn't specify, you know,
Levels.
how many parts per million the standard is. So I think that the Board of Health probably couldn't prohibit fluoridation, but it could certainly reduce it.
And has that level been constant, or has that range been constant since?
Well, I don't know because they haven't been released, I haven't seen the water report since 1954. I mean.
No,
they're a little
but it
busy.
could have been 2.5 at that
But-
point, right?
but-
Yeah, well, that's right, it's a
You
good
know.
point, yeah.
But, you know, it doesn't really matter now because we've got to deal with the levels we got now. And then, you know, if the
But the
board.
levels,
if
those
the
levels
bo-
have come down, I mean.
Yeah, if the board decides, we can certainly do we can do our own, and sponsor our own town meeting article for the town to vote one way or the other. Or we can, Cheryl can do it on a citizen's petition too, which I'm sure wouldn't, but it would be non-binding.
This is the town of Scituate water quality report.
If the town, if
That
we
was just
do
the
it or the
latest one.
selectmen do it, then it would become binding.
Now, would there be anybody from the state we could ask for information or something with their guidelines? I mean, EPA is one thing, that's the federal level, but I'm sure your strings pull a little
Does
harder at the
the,
state level.
Does the Centers for Disease Control still say we like fluoridation? Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try and, okay, we have to understand that the EPA, Center for Disease Control, et cetera, in the, where we live right now, in this reality, is that a lot of corporations make a lot of money off of things such as sodium fluoride.
And they have lobbyists.
And they're, yeah, so as an example, I'm not really
Yeah, but
quite
the
sure,
Centers
what
for
the
Disease
information,
Control will,
when you read some of the
a little more
information,
immune than even EPA, much more immune
Well-
than EPA.
But see,
but
but EPA,
it's a political.
So the answer is yes, though, right? The Centers for Disease Control
Yeah,
is
I'll
still
show
in
you.
favor of
but
fluoridation.
EPA controls chemicals, and the CDC looks at.
No.
But
Right.
if you're as an example, my dog ate rat poison.
My husband gets it, takes it every day, it's called Coumadin.
There are a lot, Lipitor has fluoride in it. Anyway, my dog ate rat poison several years ago. I called the vet, bring her in, vitamin K was the antidote for, I don't know, I think it was 3 weeks or something on a daily basis. She's still with me, so, but that's not to say that she doesn't have something that's, you know, getting there, having again, just within the last year, we all stopped drinking the tap.
Yeah, do the
But-
research you've done and
Doing the
what you find.
research and that
Yeah.
kind of thing, but that's not to say, just as an example, because again, fluoride is the main ingredient in the rat poison. But she's still alive, the vitamin K
Right.
was the antidote for my dog.
Yeah, I'm not a chemist, so I
Again,
Just so you know, and I don't mean to disagree with you, and I'm not, because I think it's an issue that we need to address, but Jennifer alluded to it earlier, but I'll say it differently. It's the dose that makes the poison. Water can kill you. You can drink too much
You're right.
water and
You're
die.
right.
And that happened to an unfortunate woman in a marathon about 15 years ago, who overhydrated herself and actually ended up dying. Peanut butter, too much peanut butter will kill you. Too many aspirins will kill you, okay? And on the other hand, some things that are toxic at very high levels, at very low levels, are actually good for you. So I don't disagree with you. I don't think anybody here probably does, that fluoride at certain levels, and a lot of the stuff that is cited here, is a highly toxic thing. And there are many chemicals that we deal with every day that are highly
I
toxic.
agree. I agree.
So, and that's why I asked the CDC question, because the CDC, as I understood it when I read this stuff, and this was last year, when your letter came in, I kind of did a little Google search and looked at some of the literature out there, and I noticed then that the CDC was actually taking the position that at very low levels, they still thought that fluoride treatment was a good thing. But that they were going to be studying this further, and of course then the EPA has been much more upfront about wanting to study it and questioning whether it needed to be in the water supply at all. So I think the thing that we're going to need to answer to the citizens of Scituate, who voted however many years ago to put it in the water supply for a health benefit, is that health benefit non-existent now? And, you know, I certainly saw some of the studies, I haven't read them in detail yet, where you say that, you know, that the tooth decay thing actually is hogwash. But CDC seemed to be saying, in that stuff that I read last year, that they thought that there was a benefit to low levels in tooth decay. And so I think we're going to need to address that and
I agree.
find out
I agree.
whether, you know,
I agree.
there is a health benefit. If there is none at all, then to me, it's almost a no-brainer. Why are we putting
pointless.
it in the system?
Again, there is controversial research that is, again, been made available through the Freedom of Information Act, and again, you'll get a little more detail again in that history that I gave you, as far as that can show that actually there was a lot of research that was suppressed because it had to do with the Manhattan Project, which I learned was the atomic bomb program. But a lot of the research that they had done on it was, I guess, classified or whatever. So, and it was just through people, you know, utilizing the Freedom of Information Act, they were able to access a lot of these research records that had been declassified, and able to find out some of the more sort of alarming results from some of these research studies again, and you'll be able to see that. But I think I might have gotten off track there, but I definitely agree that, you know, again, we need to look at EPA, the CDC, what the mass guidelines or regulations are, and even what their health agency,
DPH.
thank you, has to say. And definitely with, you know, a dental person, professional, I should say, get as much information from as many different sources as possible, I think, definitely. But
Yeah.
again, like I said, my whole thing, like I told Jennifer, was I needed to, I couldn't keep the information to myself.
Glad you came forward.
Because it was so long ago.
We may all learn something, for better or worse, and I
But, so.
think that's a wonderful thing.
More information, better decision.
Yes. So again, I would like to say that, you know, use me in whatever capacity that you would like. Want me to run errands, you want me to go look something up? I'll be more than happy to do it. So.
Well, we'll put some stuff together through the board and Jennifer to have someone come in. Like I said, whether it's in 2 weeks, we're not sure with some ongoing stuff we have, or if it's in a month, but it's here and we've seen it, and you can tell, I think, by discussion that the three of us have read information because of things that came forward back in August, so it is on our minds. So I think probably the motion would be to table this.
Yeah, move to adjourn for a future meeting and discussion, perhaps with somebody with some expertise on whether there are any benefits from fluoridation.
Or not, we may have
Really?
some more reinforcing information that may go the other way,
But
both ways.
definitely,
But the dialogue's open.
You know,
Right,
and
and
we'll let you know, when the subject's back on the table, so,
okay.
you can come in.
Should I try to call you, or should I just wait for you to?
No, I'll call you.
Because I know you're busy.
Don't worry about it,
You
I'll
sure?
call you,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
You check the website?
I
The
will.
town of Scituate, well, just, yeah.
Because they have the
Yeah,
agendas up.
And
Okay.
you can also get yourself on or the email list,
I
just
will
by
do
going
that.
to the webmaster, and you'll get all
Okay.
the agendas, and so you'll be able to see in
Okay,
advance
okay.
what's happening.
Excellent, excellent, because I don't want to like be on the agenda and then.
No, I think
No,
one of us
no, no, no,
will
no.
remember to say to Jennifer, hey, did you go?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, no, we would
Okay.
absolutely want you here.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to,
That's what we're here for.
let me sort of
Appreciate the
burden
time you
this.
spent
Yeah.
on all this. This is quite,
Um,
you spent some time putting your book together there.
Yeah.
so is it closed?
No.
Oh, no, it's not closed, no, it's closed for tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think there
'cause I
was a
was gonna
motion
say-
made, it was.
Yes, I
We're still
move
on TV.
to adjourn until we can reschedule after finding some further information.
Okay.
A second.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then, like I said, we'll put something together where we can have some more discussion. Because
Okay.
what you presented is, I think it's pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep it condensed.
You
but
did an
a
awesome
lot of-
job.
A lot of good reading information, and certainly, again, if you have it, Jennifer, you can contact me, hey, I need some info on this. Again, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. That wasn't so bad.
See, I told you. You don't bite.
No, I know, but
We
it's
just
a
ask
little- It's a
questions.
little nerve-wracking sometimes, and thank goodness it wasn't a big crowd.
Well, it wouldn't matter anyway, they'd be all behind you.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, true, but still, okay. And I'm not
That's
sure.
your
if-
stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, again, I'm not sure if.
It's
Again,
okay.
more than
It's all
happy
right.
to
It's
give you
all right.
anything you need, and I didn't know how much stuff to bring, but I thought I'd try to be as organized as possible, so.
Organized is good.
Good night.
Well, thank you. I will, and you do the same.
I'll go to old business, wind turbine protocol update, and I assume.
It's at DEP, so
It's at
the minute I hear anything, everybody will know.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I was, I think in a letter, I don't know if you could call them tomorrow to see if we can push them along, but I don't know how quick we can go, but the tides are gonna be,
Oh, wait a minute, I'll email you Mr. Thompson's letter where he wants a conference call.
I got that, yeah, I got that today, but,
His people, our people, and I talked to, I forwarded it to Gordon.
Wednesday, at 11 o'clock PM, 2303, it's the first tide in the cycle over 11, so I don't know how quick.
It's not gonna happen by Wednesday.
Yeah, and then those tides run, you're probably right, it's wishful thinking, but it's Thursday, and then your tide doesn't run again, then it'll be early Saturday morning.
Well, they can't do it in the morning. How early?
12:35 AM,
Oh, well, yeah, they could.
yeah. And then
I
it's
think we're
gonna
gonna
be
have to
an
look.
hour every day. Sunday's a 12-foot tide at 1:24 in the morning, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, May 1st is your last day with over 11-foot tides. I think that's what we stipulated, to make sure the water was over the marsh. So Sunday's your home run, that's a 12-footer, that's a big tide.
Well, I'll email them and just so they know,
Yeah.
and I'll copy Thompson so he can tell his firm to put them on notice that, if we get approval, maybe they can go, I don't know.
Yeah, it's all weather dependent. I mean, tonight, tomorrow, rain. It's been blowing easterly. I don't know if that matters to them. That east wind's pretty strong. It's kicked up the ocean. I don't know if someone will have a concern on that. You probably hear it. Probably, Does it shake-
Lullaby?
Does it shake the ground a little bit?
It shakes my house.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Lullaby and good night. The massage bed without the quarter.
Something's rattling.
So it's in DEP and that's it, we're just on standby, we can't do any more, because
Nope.
if we do any testing and it's not done to DEP approval, then we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot. So, okay, it's out of our control,
Yep.
all right. And, any questions from the audience? Seeing none.
Oh, I have a question. So it's, just confirm this, because I want to make sure everything's correct. So it's still before the DEP for approval of the protocol and everything, so nothing's started, nothing's
Correct.
done yet, and you're just waiting to hear back from them?
We have to, because they're the ones that are gonna say, yeah, you're doing it right, or we need this tweak this way, that way, or the other way.
Okay.
So our hands are tied.
You said we're on standby.
We're on standby, yeah.
Got it.
If they report tomorrow and say it's good, then we can make the phone calls to the company and say,
But it's weather dependent, like you said also.
absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
okay.
And one of the things the people had asked about was the tides, that's why I was saying
Yeah,
that with the
right,
tides. And
right,
we're
right,
trying to
right.
do our best on this end, it's
Right.
just,
Okay.
there's a lot of variables to work with,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Great, okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn. Aye.